evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight at the induction of the 10th class to the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. To open it up here, I promise to follow the 3 Bs. Be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. Although the brilliant one, I'll admit, is a tough one for me sometimes. For those of you I've not yet met, my name is Matt Drury, and I'm the new president/owner of the Valley Blue Sox. I have the esteemed pleasure of being handed the keys to this amazing event and would like to reiterate the organization's commitment to presenting and facilitating this event on an annual basis. It is a tremendous amount of faith, the commitment on the part of the committee to continue to trust our organization with this event. I promise that we'll continue to develop and improve upon an already phenomenal foundation. With that in mind, I would like to announce that on Friday, June 16th, we will be holding our annual Hall of Fame night at Mackenzie Stadium, and would love you all to be there. During that night, we'll be unveiling banners for all 10 Hall of Fame classes, along with hosting a large gathering for all of our Hall of Fame inductees. The Blue Sox, by the way, are constantly looking for great host families for our program for the 2023 season. So if you or anyone you know may be interested in becoming a host family, please reach out to my general manager, Tyler, or myself. Had to say it there, sorry. So shameless plug. There will be plenty of information shared in the coming months, but now it goes out saying with every event does not come together on its own. And I would personally like to thank our excellent partners, Jim Hagan and the entire team at Westfield Bank, I know they're here somewhere, who co-sponsored the event along with the Blue Sox. I would also like to thank our long-running partners, Din Brothers, for their generous trophy donation once again. I would also like to acknowledge the members of the Hall of Fame Committee. As I say your names, if you would please stand if you're here. Bill Bathel, Rich Bedard, Fred Ciaglo, Tyler Deschanel, Mark DeFranco, Dan Genovese, Jim Hagan, Steve McKelvey, Mike Tromley, Christopher Wyant, Frank Wyant. I'd like to especially acknowledge 2 of those members on this committee, the first one being Chris Wyant. Throughout this year, Chris has driven the committee to meet, discuss, and decide, and has been the fulcrum between the committee and the Blue Sox to get this event together. Chris, thank you for all your hard work. The next one is Blue Sox General Manager Tyler Deschanel. Tyler has done all the logistics, ticketing, and setup for tonight's event, and seeing it come together tonight is a great testament to you. Great job, buddy. Lastly, I'd like to share a personal story that I think encompasses why we've all gathered here tonight, why it is important. It actually involves one of tonight's inductees, although I'm sure you'll have no recollection of it. When I was a little leaguer, somewhere between 10 and 12 years old, I attended a baseball camp in Vernon, Connecticut. It was a huge camp. I knew I was pretty good, and I was obsessed with baseball, and I loved every minute of that camp. On the final day of the camp, the head honcho pulled me over and said something to the effect of, "Hey kid, come here for a minute." He then pointed to a spot and said, "Go over there for a second." So I did, and then he proceeded to hit me varying levels of ground balls for what I thought was about an hour, but probably amounted to less than 10 minutes. I still remember this vividly. Afterwards, when it was time to go home, he walked me over to my father. He told me I did a great job, and then he told my dad, "Matt has got a ton of potential." In that moment, I felt validated. The guy with his name on the camp and on the t-shirt I was wearing said, "This kid has got something." That gentleman, if you haven't guessed it already, is 2023 inductee Chris Corkum. I share this story because I want the inductees to look around the room at the hundreds of people in it and then imagine thousands of others that have similar stories to the one I just shared about Chris. You never know where any of us will end up. They might just buy a baseball team. Your impact on baseball in this region has been immense. You deserve to be celebrated tonight, and I'm so glad that you are. Thank you for what you have done. Enjoy your night, and try to remember the 3 Bs. With that, I turn the night over to someone who has graciously offered his time with this induction this year, and is a Western Massachusetts institution himself, Mr. Rich Teddimer.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone here. I actually had the first chance to be the MC back in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So this is my first chance back in front of a live audience since then. So it's great to see everyone. Baseball's such a great game, and you make so many friends throughout the years, from when you play and when your kids play and eventually when you watch your grandkids play. It is a great game. So there are so many friendly faces. Can everyone hear me? Can you guys hear me over there? So many friendly faces to see and so many great memories to have in this great game of baseball. As I drove over here today, I saw Picknelly Field shrouded in snow, and just know that hope springs eternal. And we wait for the spring when every team still has a chance. Even the Red Sox right now still have a chance. We'll see what happens in June, but they still have a chance. And so that's the thing that brings us back to this game that we love so much. It's a tough game. It's not easy, as you'll hear from some of the people who have been through it, Doug Clark and Nick Gorneault for some, who have tried and went through some trials to get to where they are today in the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. What an honor that is. And so congratulations to the class of 2023. You're all well-deserving, and we're all here tonight for you. Now, I don't know, like I said, I did this back in 2020. Are there people here that were back, that went to the dinner back in 2020? We have a lot of new people here, right? Okay. So, baseball's been what I really wanted to do all my life. And it's been something that I picked up from my dad, as many of you guys did, or from some of you kids, some of you girls picked up from your moms and dads. It's a love of a game that I had ever since I was a kid. And it's helped me throughout my career, even into TV broadcasting. In fact, when I went to college, I was super shy, especially being in front of a live audience. And I had to take this class called oral interpretation. And it allowed me to break through the barriers of being shy. Even I'm still shy right now, but even so back then. And so what I did was, I had to do one particular event in front of this class that I was petrified to do. But I leaned on an old friend to do it, and that friend was the poem Casey at the Bat. So in 2020, I did a version of Casey at the Bat that related to the class of 2020, and I've written it again to add the class of 2023. So if you just bear with me for a second. I did this, like I said, oral interpretation, so I worked out the whole thing when I was a kid in college. I'm not going to do that now, but I'll just say it as it is. But basically, Casey at the Bat, if you know the story, is about the Mudville Nine. Well, Casey, though, represents all of us. Not just, a great player, but all of us. Guys like Mark DeFranco and Coach Emmett, and all of us that are here. Bill Bathel, the guys from DeFranco Realty, all of us, even the guys from the 1978 Holyoke State Champs. Casey is that guy. So think of that for yourself. You are Casey right now. Casey is the star of the poem and a metaphor for all of us. Here we go. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Holyoke High that day. The score stood 4-2 with but one more inning to play. And when McLean died at first and Gorneault did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the Valley Blue Sox that game. A struggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest, like Clark and Doyle, clung to that hope that springs eternal in the human breast. They thought, if only Casey could get a whack at that, we'd put up money even now with Casey at the bat. But DeRocher preceded Casey, and so did a guy named Corkum. The former was a Lulu, and the latter wooden Corkum. I couldn't think of anything to rhyme with Corkum. So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for there seemed little hopes of Casey getting to the bat. But DeRocher let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Corkum, the elder statesman, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted, they saw what had occurred. There was Corkum safe at second, and DeRocher hugging third. From 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell, and it rumbled through the Pioneer Valley, and it rattled in the dell. It knocked upon the mountaintop and recoiled upon the flat, for Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manners. He stepped into his place. There was pride from Coach O'Connor and a smile on Coach McCarthy's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. And then when the pitcher ground the ball into his hip, Defiance gleamed in Casey's eye, and a sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered spear came hurtling through the air, but Casey stood a-watching, like Steve Athas over there. There he is. Close by, the sturdy batsman, the ball, and he had sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the benches filled with people there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" they shouted from the stands. And it's likely they would have killed him had not Casey raised his hand. With a smile and a wink, great Casey's visage shone. He saved the ump, LaValley. And he signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Strike two." "Fraud!" cried the maddened crowd, and an echo answered fraud, and one scornful look from Casey, and the multitude was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold, they saw his muscles strain, and they knew that Casey would not let that ball go by again. A sneer is gone from Casey's lip, his teeth are clenched in hate, he pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go, and now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. And there is much joy in Holyoke. Mighty Casey hit one out. And now to our show. Thank you to the Valley Blue Sox, who have done an excellent job with this Baseball Hall of Fame, the 10th annual Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. Mass Live does a great job promoting it. I don't know if you had a chance to read Marty Dobrow's articles on Doug Clark. They're on Mass Live right now. Check them out. They're fantastic. It really gives you a sense of what Doug went through to get where he is today. The trials and tribulations, his whole career. And that goes for all the people here that are going to be inducted here tonight. But check out Marty Dobrow's article. It is amazing. And that falls in line of our first nominee and first inductee. This year, the Western Mass Baseball Hall of Fame is proud to establish the inaugural Gary Brown Excellence in Media Award. We all know Gary Brown, a mainstay in Western Massachusetts journalism for over 70 years. He epitomized what local journalism is all about. One of the good guys, working extremely hard to tell stories we all wanted to hear. Gary was an inaugural member of the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2014 and of the Hall of Fame committee. And the committee would like to express their heartfelt appreciation for Gary's contributions and, most importantly, friendship. Accepting the Gary Brown Excellence in Media Award on behalf of Gary's family is his longtime friend, Mike Trombley. Mike?
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for supporting this great event. This is tough for me. He's a good friend of mine, and the older I got, the wiser I got, and the better guy Gary became, which tells me how immature I really was. I've said for years, if you didn't like Gary, there's probably something wrong with you. He's that type of guy. And there'd be no Hall of Fame without Gary Brown. As I thought about what to say tonight, and I was preparing a speech, it got longer, and it got longer, and it got longer. And then Gary's voice popped in my head and said, "Mike, keep it short and make it sparkle." And so as I was trying to cut down my speech, I said, how could we honor Gary in the best way possible? And for you that, I'm sure everybody knows about Gary, but this is a guy that spent over 70 years in Western Mass sports covering it. Everybody who played sports in Western Mass, his name was probably in an article sometime somewhere that Gary wrote. Still to this day, I get the paper on Wednesday, and I hope that Hitting Tall Fields is in that paper. But this idea came up, and by the way, when I trashed my speech, I might fumble a little bit because I kind of threw it together today. As I thought, how can we honor this man in a short period of time? It's a good, LaValley, keep the speech down to less than an hour. But anyway, how can we honor this man? I mean, 70-something years of what he's done, and covering the Red Sox, talking to Mickey Mantle, and talking to Bob Gibson, and Carlton Fisk. But something happened, and Richard mentioned this, in 2020, right before COVID hit, we had the banquet up in Hadley. And Gary was older, he didn't want to drive at night, so I picked Gary up at his house and we drove there. It was about 45 minutes to an hour up there and back. So I had Gary Brown at my disposal for almost 2 hours in the car, and he was held hostage. So I was going to ask him everything. I was going to ask him how Pudge fists, what was his reaction after hitting a home run. I was going to ask him all these interesting questions. But halfway in, maybe about Northampton or something, I realized that every question I asked Gary, he'd ask me a question. Now, a lot of people know me. I'm not that interesting, right? So what are you asking me for? I want to know about Gary. But what he said to me was, this is a great night we're going to. This is a celebration of baseball. We have a great class here. We have a great class every year. But really, this is a way to connect with everybody and see some faces and reconnect with umpires we had, teammates and new guys I met tonight that I didn't know I knew. So to celebrate, and what I saw here in the first 45 minutes we were here, is people doing exactly that. So without making this speech any longer, Gary is looking down smiling because we're doing exactly what he loved to do, is celebrating the game of baseball tonight, a couple weeks before the start of Major League season, and I know he's looking down smiling. So thank you on behalf of Gary and his family.
That was great, Mike. Thank you very much. As Gary would like to say, you're hitting all fields. All right? We miss Gary. Many in this room will recognize Don LaValley from his umpiring days dating back to 1984 when he joined the Western Massachusetts Umpire Association. In such, he umpired at all levels of collegiate baseball, including the Cape Cod League and the home of the Blue Sox, the NECBL. LaValley also umpired in the Atlantic League for 6 seasons. He also served as president of the Tri-County Baseball League and coached at Chicopee High School, Holyoke Community College. He also served as coach at Elms College, where he started their baseball program there. He's done a lot, and he's got a lot of friends in this room as well, I know, and now with Tri-County as well. Please join me in welcoming Don LaValley to the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wow. Rich, why am I first? Wow. Coach Pope, Ron Pope, longtime baseball coach at Mississippi State, was thrown out of a game at Arkansas for arguing balls and strikes. Once he was tossed, the umpire told him to go where I couldn't see you anymore. So naturally, Coach Ron Pope went and stood on home plate. All right, that calmed me down a little bit, so we're okay. This is far from a realm for me, so we'll get through this. I'd like to thank the Blue Sox ownership and the Hall of Fame committee. Y'all have no idea how honored I am to be joining these 5 well-deserved, character-driven men and women, as well as the 1978 Holyoke High School State Championship team as part of this 2023 class. I am so humbled to be part of the Western Mass Baseball Hall of Fame. All of us have a few things in common: the love of the game, a coach or mentor that helped lead us to tonight. Coach Dalcinos, you're my coach, you're my mentor. I can't thank you enough for you being there for me in good times and bad, teaching me to respect the game and so much more. I love you, Coach, and thank you. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for you. I love you to death. I'd like to recognize my Tri-County family, the Elms players, Holyoke Community College players, the Western Mass Baseball Umpires Association, and a few of my assistant coaches. Thank you all for coming out tonight to share this moment with me. I have an awesome blended family. My son DJ, his wife Lauren, stepdaughter Alicia, stepson RJ, and 4 grandchildren. Nikki, I love you with all my heart, and you're my rock. You hold our family together, and with you by my side, we can get through everything that comes our way. I love you, Nikki. Tonight also wouldn't have happened without the support of my 2 best friends in high school until this day. John Malachowski and Steve LaBelle. I came to Chicopee as an 8th grader from East Hampton. I was reading 2nd grade level. Also the same in math. I was labeled a 766 student. I had to leave classes often to attend special needs classes to get through high school. While having them both in my corner, helping me get through the daily grind of other students labeling me because of my academic downfalls, I can't thank you guys enough. Athletics, along with Steve and John in my corner, and Phyllis Hart, my special needs teacher, I graduated. Thank you. I chose to attend Norwich University because of the dyslexic program that they had. I played football and baseball until academics caught up to me and I couldn't do it any longer. Soon after, my dad and myself purchased Cabot Liquor Store, and that wasn't easy either. Doing the books with 3 journals so I could catch my mistakes for inverting numbers made for long days. Well worth it. We had a successful store for 35 years. Along with being a Division I baseball guy, I was also a Division I football guy in the 90s and a high school basketball official. Rule books for college football, baseball, along with high school basketball gave me tons of problems. Using my past playing experience of 3 sports helped me along. Football was short-lived due to my reading disabilities. I put in countless hours watching rule videos, attending rule workshops, aided me tremendously in achieving my goals as an official at the highest level possible. I can't thank enough the late Bill Mauger for giving me my first coaching job at Chicopee High School, Rick Golis from Hoyle Community College, Mike Stone from UMass for a short stay, Cheryl Condon and Louisa McClary from Elms for allowing me to start those programs from scratch. I also need to thank the late Kevin McGurk, Bill LaRue, longtime best friend of mine, Jim Hickey, for mentoring me during my high school career in umpiring. You all meant the world to me. I'm not just a coach nor an umpire. I'm a baseball guy. I've been blessed to have spent 35 years in college athletics, both as a coach and an umpire. I've had the best seat in the house for thousands of games. My goals were simple: give players and umpires the proper instruction and tools to make the game easier. Having the proper tools would enable them to enjoy the game and be successful at it. I get great satisfaction seeing past players and umpires doing so well in life and on the field. It warms my heart. For me, baseball officiating was serenity. I left all my problems and issues outside the stadium. The games were peaceful, and it just slowed down for me. I wish all umpires could reach that level and have that feeling in their games. How about a few ejections to end this speech? Nick, Doug, Chris, don't worry. You're not any of these ejections. It's pretty funny. On your tables, you have a Cracker Jack thing. The first ejection, it goes back in the Cape. I think it was Katuitt against Harwich. First inning, I go to third base, 3-man crew. Coach from third, kid named guy from Coach Roberts from South Carolina. First kid goes to bat, walks, go in the middle of the infield, steal second, bang him out, no voice, go back to third. Wasn't a simple play. He was out by a ton. Coach at third goes, "Who are you?" "Really?" "Well, who are you?" And then we went at it pretty good. And it kept on going. And I says, "Do you know what's in a Cracker Jack box?" He says, "Excuse me?" I said, "Do you know what's in a Cracker Jack box?" "Yeah, a gift." No. In this Cracker Jack box I have, it's an ejection report. Do you want it now or later? It gets better. So the next day I go to Hyannis and I got the plate. So down the Cape you have to go get the baseballs. You get 3 dozen, you rub them up at your car, and then carry them down to the game. So I walk down to Hyannis, down in the dugout, and I go pick up the baseballs. I pick up the box. The box is like empty. All the players are like looking at me. I'm going, something's going on here. I open up the box. There's Cracker Jack boxes in the box in the case of balls. Second story, I'm going to change the subject. I was coaching. We're at Elms College. We were chasing a run in the ninth. We had guys on second and third, 2 outs. Ball hit down the third base line. I had it fair. The home plate umpire had a foul. So I moseyed on down to home plate and got in a little argument. It got pretty good. It was going pretty well. Out of the stands, I hear, "Donald, that's enough." I looked at the umpire and I says, "My parents are snowbirds, and that's my mom yelling at me. I got to go." My mom passed a year ago, and she was my biggest fan, and she would have got a big kick out of this tonight. I can't thank you all enough. Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome, Don, and you got 2 standing O's for that, too. 2 standing ovations. Shows you're well-loved and it's well-deserved. Congratulations. In 2020, the inaugural Ryan Doyle Courage Award was posthumously presented to Ryan Doyle, a standout athlete and compassionate young man who displayed unrelenting bravery in his battle with cancer. He will never be forgotten, an inspiring story. Past award recipients include World Series champion Trey Mancini, and former Boston College catcher Jake Goodrow, who is here tonight. Jake, can you stand and be recognized? Jake was there he is right there. A previous Ryan Doyle Award winner. And now the Hall of Fame is thrilled to present the 2023 Ryan Doyle Courage Award to Donna McLean. She is a pioneer, without a doubt, an inspiration to little girls and boys. When she didn't have a league of her own, she played with the boys, and she played really well. And then she starred at Westfield State as well. To tell more about Donna, please welcome local author and Hall of Fame committee member and a Hall of Famer himself, Dan Genovese, and joining Dan are Ryan Doyle's parents, Tim and Dee Doyle, for their remarks and presentation of this year's award. Folks.
Rich, is there a speech clock?
No clock.
Okay. I tell you what, I've been watching some spring training games and it's been going great. So I have the distinct honor and privilege of highlighting Donna McLean's legendary career. Donna is a Westfield native, and it's safe to say she is the most decorated and elite athlete on the diamond in this room in perhaps all Western Mass. At Westfield High, she earned all state honors in both softball and basketball. At Westfield State University, she holds more than 20 softball records. That's crazy. And voted All-Conference, All-New England, and All-American. She went on to playing women's fast-pitch softball at the highest level with the legendary and highly decorated women's team, the Stratford, Connecticut Breakettes, which is like the New York Yankees. Her softball career has landed Donna in the Westfield State University Athletic Hall of Fame, the USA Softball of Connecticut Hall of Fame, as well as being a member of the Breakettes All-Wrester team. Well, that's softball, okay? But we're here for baseball. So where is the courage and perseverance in baseball in Donna's story? We're going to time travel for just a minute. Okay, let's go back to 1974, 1975. Leisure suits for men were the rage, right? Women were wearing hot pants. Bobby Riggs was taking on Billie Jean King in the battle of the sexes. Some of you were driving AMC Gremlins. The #1 show on TV was All in the Family. Has anybody seen All in the Family syndication today? It's stunning. But that's what we were dealing with. Some of the headlines of sport pages and even front pages, the New York Times, Towns Little League reluctantly signs 3 girls. Reluctantly signs 3 girls, the New York Times. Little League Baseball yields to social climate and accepts girls. The New York Times. Girls in Little League? The Westfield News. And here's a great one. Baseball belongs to boys, wrote Jim Murray, a Pulitzer Prize winner from the Los Angeles Times. This is what we were dealing with at the time. Donna and hundreds of other 8 to 12-year-old girls trailblazed and challenged the Institute of Little League Baseball to allow girls to play baseball alongside of boys. At the tender age of 10, okay, these are girls at 10. She tried out for the Westfield Little League Baseball program and made an instant impact as being the first girl to make the major division in Westfield baseball. It's reserved for the best players. Within 2 years, she made the All-Star team. Donna and other young girls, along with their families around the country, had to put up with verbal abuse, glares, gossip, and pressure, not unlike Jackie Robinson when breaking the color barrier in the late 1940s. Reading these stories are just fascinating. Donna and her trailblazing efforts have paved the way for young girls today to play baseball alongside of boys. It's not uncommon to seeing girls playing in the Little League Baseball World Series. And for that, Donna, congratulations.
Hi there. My name's Dee Doyle. I'm Ryan Doyle's mom. I just want to congratulate the class of 2023 and thank you to the committee for keeping this award in my son's name going on. That's it for me.
I just want to echo some of those same comments. I'd like to congratulate the class of 2023. I followed most of your careers and was fortunate enough to get to know most of you both on and off the field. All great competitors, and great ambassadors to this game. Jake, I'm echoing that too. I'm glad to see you here. Jake won the award last year, and it's great to see him come back. I'd also like to thank Mike Trombley and the Trombley family, Matt Jury, the Blue Sox, the Hall of Fame committee, Frank, Chris, and the Wyant family, and everyone involved in putting this great event together. When this award was established, I think it was about Ryan and how he fought his battle with osteosarcoma. Courageously and with a smile, becoming an inspiration to others. For whatever reason, people gather inspiration from Ryan to have the ability to deal with whatever their situation is and make it a little easier. Dee, myself, Griffin, and Casey, Ryan's brother and sister, are very grateful to be able to share this award with you all. When we discussed this year's award, Chris and the committee agreed that cancer shouldn't define who Ryan Doyle is. Chris, Frank, Jane, and Kate spent summers getting to know Ryan when Frank and Dee coached softball together, coaching a group of young girls in Wilbraham called the Bandits. Ryan would surely be tagging along to watch Casey practice and get out there and have some fun himself. So, of course, we welcome the opportunity. Courage, the ability to do something that frightens one. Strength in the face of pain. And acting on one's beliefs despite disapproval. These are some of the ways to define courage. There are many different ways in which this can be demonstrated. I don't remember the 70s being as open-minded as they are today. For someone to buck the trend or what was considered the norm took a great deal of courage. By doing this, Donna became an inspiration to young girls who wanted to pursue their goals. Not only was Donna a pioneer, but she excelled and became one of the better players in the league. Although she downplayed it, Dan Genovese said Donna was one of the better players during her era. I don't want to steal Donna's thunder, but Donna credits her family, teammates, and coaches for their continued support throughout her career. Donna and Ryan also share the same love of the game, whereas in between the lines, the competition is fierce, but also still having the ability to bring a smile to their teammates' faces and having fun while doing it. So let us please welcome this year's Ryan Doyle Courageous winner, Donna McLean.
Congratulations.
I put this here, so. Okay. Back then I was 10, now I need glasses. I'm 58 years old now, so I gotta put these on to see. Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Thank you, Dan Genovese, for the very nice introduction and sharing my story to Dee and Tim. Dee and Tim, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for this very special award. I am overwhelmed with gratitude and extremely honored to have been selected to receive the Ryan Doyle Courage Award. I will always cherish this special award and all that it represents. Although I never had the privilege of meeting Ryan, upon reading his story, it became immediately apparent what an amazing, joyous, loving, strong, courageous young man he was. My battle was no comparison to the one Ryan and his loved ones fought together. I will forever hold this award near and dear to my heart in honor of your beautiful son. Never in my life would I have pictured myself standing amongst the class of 2023, Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame inductees. Congratulations to you all. My personal story started in 1975, just 3 years after the institution of Title IX, with being the only girl in the Westfield Little League organization at the majors level. Back then, girls were not really allowed to play boy sports, but I changed that. I fought the battle of opposing players and their parents constantly making negative remarks. Girls shouldn't play baseball. She's cute, but strike her out anyways. Girls shouldn't play baseball. That girl needs to get her hair cut. When getting a hit and running to first base, the opposing team would shout out, "Lucky hit." I would just look into their dugout and smile. I don't think the boys like that. Playing left field was my favorite position in Little League. I remember there was a well-hit ball that was heading in my direction. I turned, ran back to the fence, leaned way over, and caught it. It would have been a clearly home run. And doing so, I hung myself up onto the fence. And as a result, my coaches had to come out and pull me down. Before yet another remark from the stands, that was pure luck. And it was probably the mother of the son that I caught his home run that they're pissed off at me. Sorry. Hearing all these remarks as a young girl, I did not cry. Why, you might ask? It's quite simple. There's no crying in baseball. Unfortunately, after quite some time, the opposing players and their parents began to realize how good of a player I was, both offensively and defensively, and finally accepted and welcomed me into Little League. Thank God there were no more remarks remaining after my years in Little League. This experience taught me a lot of life lessons as I continue my years in Little League, being very proud and always standing up for myself while playing the game I absolutely loved. To this day, at 58 years young, I continue to play softball, in left field on a 55 and over senior softball traveling team. We call ourselves the Fossils. That's our team name. We are a very talented group that plays all over the country, and I will continue to play for as long as I can. In closing, I would like to dedicate this special award to both my mother, Bonnie McLean, who was diagnosed with cancer last year and is now cancer-free. She was my She was my defender and my cheerleader, and still is. And to my father, Ian McLean, an amazing athlete himself who passed away 32 years ago. He died of colon cancer. He and I shared a special love for the game, as he was the one who really taught me about the game of baseball. Once again, it's an incredible honor to receive this award. Thank you so much, Dan Genovese, to the Doyle family, and especially Ryan.
Donna McLean, nice to meet you. Congratulations, well deserved. Now in a league of our own, and a Western Mass Baseball Hall of Famer. Our next Hall of Fame inductee has made a name for himself on and off the diamond. Nick Gorneault was a star outfielder at Cathedral High School in Springfield, was named the Western Mass Player of the Year en route to the Western Massachusetts Championship in his senior season. He starred at UMass and then was drafted in the 19th round by the then Anaheim Angels, and he would play minor league baseball for 10 seasons, amassing over 1,100 hits and 150 home runs. He debuted for the LA Angels in 2007. Then after his playing career was over, Nick joined the Angels as a scout, where he has spent 13 years, twice winning Scout of the Year honors. That is not an easy job. He has the East Coast for the Angels, and he goes to many a baseball game right now. But he's loving it, and he's made a career in baseball. Please join me in welcoming Nick Gorneault to the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wow, I got the nice short walk there. Appreciate it. Man, this is amazing. I'm going to try to go off the cuff for the most part here. This is an amazing honor for me to just come home where it all started, and just going around the room and the first hour just to say hi to so many faces I haven't seen in so long, teammates, coaches, just people that have run the John L. Sullivan League, Tri-County League, things that are near and dear to my heart. It's where it started for me, So thank you for all that. And then thank you for this year's class too. Just amazing group of people that I'm honored to join in this 2023 class. So it's amazing, really. It's a funny story. My UMass guys will probably remember this a little bit. It's kind of a little light story to get things started here. This thing could have ended before it started. I was my senior year. They do scout days. Scouts like myself, I'm a scout now, come around and they go to visit the colleges in the fall to see what we have for talent. And we showcase all the tools. You throw, you run, you hit. And this day, the last event for me was to run a 60-yard dash. And it's my senior year, my last chance to impress the scouts. And boy, did I put my head down, and I was going. And before I knew it, I look up, and I almost ran into John Walsh, a scout for the Cincinnati Reds. I had veered off course. Right then and there, I thought the whole industry wrote me off. And I probably would have wrote myself off, to be honest with you. I just share that story because I was a raw talent that took a long time to get to fruition. And so many people, including people in this room, believed in me and invested in me. So my story is one that overcame a lot of odds, but it's only because people believed in me and spent time with me to help me build my craft. And I have so many to thank today for that. I have to start first with my beautiful wife, Jamie. She and I met when I was in Arizona playing for the Angels. Jamie had just finished up college at Grand Canyon University, and Mike Napoli was trying to talk to her first, but I kind of snuck in there. So it worked out pretty good. She actually answered my call, and she had to pick me up because I didn't have a car, so that was our first date. But she stuck with me with through the thick and thin. She saw me in my major league debut. She saw me when it got really hard at the end of my career, where I was pretty grumpy after games, going 0 for 3 or something like that. She also stuck with me when I had a hard time getting a job and transitioning careers. And we've kind of made it all the way through. I love you, Jamie. That led us to adopt our two beautiful children, Kenan and Sabrina, who I'm so proud of. That's my greatest honor, really, is just to see these kids grow up. I also have to, before I go any further, is thank my mom and dad. They were integral in my growth and development. My mom, unfortunately, can't be here right now. She's sick and home. Thinking about her a lot right now. It's been a tough stretch, but she's working hard, and we're videoing her right now, right in. So, Mom, I love you. Everything you did for me. My dad, Gary, probably the man with the most integrity I've ever met. He worked a 5 at night till 6 in the morning shift for 40 years as a machinist. Didn't get a lot of accolades, but he worked hard so my brother and I could get through college, and I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. On the surface, my career looks like that of Moonlight Graham. If you guys ever remember the Field of Dreams, got 4 at-bats in the major leagues. Was up there for 4 days. But I can remember every moment. I made my debut on my brother's birthday. Family was all there to join me. And I'll tell you what, I swung as hard as I could for those 4 days. Didn't connect on a homer, but I dug in there. I was able to give a twinkle in that pitcher's eye, like a moonlight, right? So, this career is much more than those 4 at-bats, though. I spent 10 years grinding in the minor leagues, and guys like Doug and many others that are around this room kind of know what that grind's all about. It's a lot of things that I miss, to be honest with you. The bus trips, just putting the uniform on. There's something about lacing them up that you can't replicate that in any other career, So, it just was an amazing ride. I was able to join the field with great players like Ichiro and Barry Bonds and A-Rod and Jeter, Mike Trout, Vladimir Guerrero. I faced pitchers like Barry Zito and Madison Bumgarner. I faced Trevor Hoffman, Felix Hernandez, even Randy Johnson. And worked really hard, through that career. So I was confident against all those guys, except for Randy Johnson. He was kind of down there. I was kind of scared of that a bit. So, this journey as a player and scout, I've either played or scouted in 46 of lower 48 states, 7 countries. It's taken me all over the world, hundreds of relationships, upon the thousands, really. And all because of what happened here, started here. I really want to recognize that. The people here that ran the John L. Sullivan Leagues, the Legion Leagues, my high school experience, Tri-County Baseball, my experience at UMass. If it wasn't for that, it would have never happened, It all started with a dream when I was a kid. I just remember playing on those backfields at Forest Park, wearing number 21, wanting to be Roger Clemens. But that's where it starts, And my kids here, I was kind of jealous. I always remember teammates that had kids in the clubhouse, and they're able to kind of experience what the game's all about. I'm just thankful for the committee that voted for me so my kids can experience this. It starts with a dream, And then you feed that dream with hard work took an immense amount of hard work. Every day in the cage, working my arm, everything that I had to do, because I was a long way away. Guys that play with me, yeah, UMass can remember that. And I was one that I didn't make my team, I didn't start as a 7th and 8th grader. I didn't make varsity until I was a junior in high school. And I didn't play in UMass till I was a junior. But I believed because people invested in me. I want to recognize some of those people now. Pat Moriarty was my JV coach. I don't know, I think Pat's on that side of the room. Oh, Pat's right here, sorry, yeah. Pat was my freshman and JV coach. So he spoke life into me. Honestly, he saw something in me that maybe I didn't even see in myself. I started, my swing started coming together, but I wasn't a real confident kid at that age. He spoke life into me. I really appreciate that, Pat. Thank you. Dan Kavanaugh, who could not be here tonight, I don't believe he was my Legion coach. He would take me to the cages and introduce me to scouts and really spent a lot of time developing me at that age. And I really appreciated that. And we're still friends to this day. Thank you, Dan. Bobby O'Haron, who's here tonight. Bobby, man, Bobby, he's a heart. He's got such heart. I love you, Bobby. At that time, scouts didn't know me. Coaches didn't know me. Colleges, I had nowhere to go. I was going to play basketball at Western New England College and maybe try out for the team. But Bobby was on that phone calling AIC, Springfield College, and eventually UMass connected. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate all you did for me. Thank you. And then lastly, Coach Stone, who's not here at UMass, he instilled a toughness. All the guys that played at UMass, we had to do some hard things, but it built character, and it helped me drive me through 10 years in the minor leagues. So when I was ready to get up there, I was ready to play. I appreciate all that. And lastly, I want to just thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here right now, I promise you. He met me at a low point when my career was over, and he's been with me ever since. He helped my wife and I get through her cancer, helped me through failed adoptions and successful ones, and get through my own bout with cancer last year. So thank you, God. I appreciate all that. I've been up here long enough. I thank you so much for all this. Thank you, guys. What an honor.
Way to go, Nick. Well deserved, and another inspiring story. Drop the Moonlight Graham reference. How about that? We would have moved stuff along too, because I know the time is of the essence here. I was going to do like a little movie night trivia with some baseball movies, and Moonlight Graham was going to be an answer. So he would have gotten that right. So congratulations. Way to go, Nick. Covered him when he was back in high school at Cathedral, way back when. And as I said, speaking of time, what's great about baseball, it has no clock. Except this year. The pitch clock is coming in. But baseball really is timeless. And it's essentially the same game that Babe Ruth played, and Jackie Robinson, and Roberto Clemente, Josh Gibson, and now Mike Trout, and Bryce Harper. It's essentially been the same game year after year after year. And our next inductee actually played with Babe Ruth. He's known for his long local playing career, as well as his contributions to area youth baseball. After playing baseball at Providence College for 4 seasons, Chris Corkum served as player manager for Oliver Auto Body in the Tri-County League for 32 seasons, becoming the only player in league history with over 1,000 hits. He was the only one keeping track, by the way, so just joking. Over 1,000 hits, though, in Tri-County. During that time, he also taught social studies for over 30 years at high school. In addition to his playing career, of course, we've heard, Corkum hosted hundreds of baseball clinics benefiting local area ball players of all ages. He has made his mark throughout the years. Please join me in welcoming Chris Corkum to the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame.
Not quite Babe Ruth, but from Wes Carr to Nick Ahmed.
There you go.
So,
How about that?
yes. Well, thank you very much. Casey Stengel said that there's a night for every man, and I've had a lot of them. And I just want to thank everybody, because for me, this is, other than the marriage to my wife and the birth of my son, this is probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So thank you so much. I want to congratulate all the other inductees and the award recipients. And Dan Brooks and I were talking about a week ago, and we're saying how connected everybody is. So, for example, Steve Athas, I've known Steve through the JLS, and his nephew, one of my all-time favorite teammates, Mike Athas. Doug Clark, Doug and I would have some nice talks at first base when he was a young guy coming up. In fact, Doug hit the longest ball in Tri-County history, and here's what happened. 2 weeks, that was about 1996, and we had a guy named Brian Powell on our team, another great player, College Player of the Year for Trinity. And where we played in the center of East Long Meadow, there was a brick pumping station out in right field, about 4:30 from home plate, and nobody ever hit it until Brian Powell hit a one-hopper off it for a double. So 2 weeks later, I'm playing center field, and Doug gets up. So I say, you know what, I'm going to give him just a little room here. And he hits a shot that looks like it's going toward the brick pumping station. And I'm thinking I'm really smart. I angle myself to play it off the bounce. It went clear over the brick pumping station and ended up by Midas. By far the farthest home run. The second most, of course, was Steve Newell, who's been an inductee 2 years ago. Thirdly, Nick Gorneault and I played against each other for a couple years, and his brother, Anthony, his nickname for me is Saint Anthony, because he was so helpful running the team. We enjoyed playing together, and we worked camps together. And you don't know this, but one day you called me at home about 10:30 in the morning, and we talked, and I hung up. You left your phone on, so I audited your next third period class for about an hour and a half. So, yeah. Okay. I've known the Doyle since 1980. I first played with Chris, and then Tim, you came on in 1982, and you were the star of the team movie that year, if you remember. And Tim also closed out the 97 playoffs for us, and then we coached against each other. I coached against Tim and his beloved son, and we're very close, and we enjoy seeing each other all the time. The Corkums are involved in that, of course, my son Kevin and myself. And through it all, Don LaValley was umpiring. And Don, you did throw me out once. Yeah. Jim Hickey never threw me out, though, right, Jim? Okay. And Gary Brown was writing about it all the time. So the whole thing is interconnected. So I'd like to show you my appreciation to the committee for considering my election, and also to my department head at East Windsor High School for sending some information in about me. Being the teacher, I just want to kind of divide this up into a couple parts. So first of all, I'd like to mention my wife, Paula. We met in 1976, and she was my best hitting coach ever. When I would struggle, I'd call Billy Bedard on the phone. Billy, what do you think's going on this, on that? I'd call Gary Barcher, I'd call Greg Morhart. And I'd get off the phone, and my wife would say one thing. Did you ever try just watching the ball? That's it. That's the missing point. And my son Kevin is here, who has motivated me for years. So when Kev was born, I said, you know what? Now I got the guy that can hit me fungos and throw me BP for the next 30 years. And we had a blast playing. And The thing about Kev was, as I was getting older, he used to come to the games from 6 years old on, and he would sit in our dugout, Mike, and he'd learn all those words that were on Major League One, not the cut version. And we used to have to say, the dugout's our little place, our little clubhouse, but once we go out of here, those words go. And so for years, so this was my typical day. So I was fortunate to play up to age 57. I'd say from age 48 on, after a night game, I'd come home, go to bed, I'd get up the next morning, and I'd kind of limp down the stairs. And I'd say to myself, I don't know if old Chris can do it tonight, right? And I'd get to school, and during my free periods at school, I always ran sprints. So by 11, 12 o'clock during the day, I started feeling pretty good. But every time my son saw me, little beat up, he says, Dad, you promised we're going to play at least 1 year together. And we ended up playing 2 years together. So that was great. Anthony, I will add this. I never picked more throws for any infielder than I picked for my son. But when he ran by me, he'd say, thanks, Dad. So it was appreciated. I'd like to mention my parents. My parents brought me up with sport in a non-critical environment. My athletic career actually began in Western Mass in 1957 as an equestrian, believe it or not. My father had been in the Massachusetts State Horse Cavalry, and we lived on a little horse farm just east of where Enfield Health Tracks is. And so we rode horses about 250 days a year. So I started showing horses at age 5, and my last show was at 15 at the Big E in the hockey rink. And my father knew this. I liked riding horses, but I loved baseball. And from my father, I really got how to practice correctly. So with horses, my father would pretend he was the ringmaster, and every day we practiced, it was like being in a regular horse show. And then right after, he'd throw me batting practice. We had our own field with a chicken wire backstop, and we'd have certain hitting contests and all that, but I really learned to practice the right way, devoid of over-instruction. And my mother was a great fan. Anthony, you remember this. We were playing up at Greenfield. My mother was 84 years old. She drove all the way up to Greenfield by herself, and I was just hoping she would get home. And my mother was the first one to really pitch to me quite a bit. And when I was 6 and 7, she'd pitch to me in the backyard, and I'd hit balls all over the place. No instruction, just pure fun. So I think one thing why I played so long was the simple love of it without the criticism. As far as sports psychology goes, my father would do this. We'd play a game like at Stott Park, and I'd come home, and let's say we lost 5-2. My father would call me and go, hey, Chris, the pitching didn't hold up tonight. I said, Dad, I hit into a double play, I flied out, I struck out with the bases loaded. My father said, no, think about it this way. That ground ball you hit into that double play, 3 feet either way would have been a hit. Your fly out, if they weren't playing you so far over that way, would have been a double. So I would hang up the phone, and guess what? I'd feel pretty good. And that is now a sports psych thing that they teach players to do. If something doesn't go your way, when you lay down in bed at night, lay there and reverse what happened to the outcome that you wanted. So my father was ahead of his time. As far as my athletic career or my baseball career in Western Mass, it's really been in 3 parts. One part is the instructional part, where we still do private lessons, coaches clinics, and summer camps. In fact, our camp in Long Meadow, right guys, is that the greatest of all time? And some of my staff is here who designed this. It's a fantasy baseball camp for kids. We have music between innings, we announce their names, we play baseball trivia and give kids baseball cards. So they have baseball cards, they start to get into it, and it's just pure baseball fun. The second part has been my managing, and I've managed in the JLS and in the Western Mass Fall High School League. The hardest was managing in the Tri-County League, because that's not really managing. There's a lot of organizing that goes on and so forth. And the last part of my baseball career in Western Mass has been, of course, the Tri-County League. And when I was coming up, I loved the Milwaukee Braves. So my mother would let me stay up to listen to Raleigh Jacobs put the scores on, and I'd hear all these Tri-County names such as Frank Capuano, and Frank's here tonight, Al Stanek, Wes Carr, Willie West. My role model growing up, this guy went to high school with my sister, Mike Angelica. So I grew up wanting to play in the Tri-County League, but it wasn't easy. So when I was a sophomore in college, my father called several teams and all the teams were filled up. Finally, St. Joe's gave me a tryout. I had my first year up there in 1972. I went 6 for 40. I was brutal, and here's why I was brutal. Because now I was facing pitching that would throw a first pitch curveball, a 2-0 curveball, and you'd yell out to the guy, "Don't you have the guts to throw me a fastball?" They didn't have to. And so I struggled. So I went for the next 6 years in the Hartford Twilight League. And then in '79, there was a gas crisis again, and I was going to grad school at Springfield, so I tried to get on a team in the Tri-County League. I called Chicopee Falls. They had enough guys. Randy Smith had enough guys on your team. And I finally called Al Hadeen, 525-6122. That's his phone number. 12 Topkins Lane. And he goes, "I got enough guys." I go, "Look, can I come up and try out, and next year maybe I can be on the team?" He goes, "Okay, come on up." So I took batting practice, and he said, "Hey, where do you play?" I go, "First base or the outfield." He goes, "Where do you hit in the lineup?" I go, "Third, fourth, or fifth." He goes, "You're hitting fifth tonight." So that was June of '79, and I stayed there until August of 2009. And for one reason, I love the competition, I love the guys, and the greatest thing in sports is winning with a great bunch of guys, and we were able to win 3 championships. I'm proud of my 8 All-League awards, especially my last one, 2006. I was 54 years old, and that took a lot more work than the first one. Okay, my 1,000 hits has kind of a story of its own. Billy Bedard, Steve Newell, Gary Barcher, we used to talk about, hey, how many guys in the league have 500 hits? And we'd kind of talk about certain guys, like we said, Mike Angelica and some other guys. And so I kind of kept counting. Gary Barcher kept counting. And after a while, those guys were gone. And somewhere early in 2002, I got a hit, and Eric Sharon, who later coached Minichog, said, "Hey, what number is that?" I go, "Believe it or not, that's 900. He goes, "You got to go for 1,000. And I thought, to go for 1,000, I'm already 52 years old. That's going to take 4 years. The league's no longer playing 36 games anymore. It's down to 24. How am I going to do it? So I said, there's only one way to do it. Goal setting. And to make a goal come true, you got to write it down. So in my office, I had this big poster. I had 901, 902, 903, all the way down to 1,000. And things were working out pretty good until October 19th, 2006. I was playing in a fall game down in Newington, and I dove for a ground ball up the middle. I felt kind of lightheaded when I came up. And I played the rest of the game, and I thought maybe I had a concussion, little whiplash. So that when I went back to school on Monday, I asked the nurse to check me out, and she said, "No, you're fine." I said, "I know what it is. I'm getting a little out of shape. I got to do more sprints." So I went home, I sprinted that day, and I didn't feel quite right. So I called my doctor. He says, "Look, come in Thursday morning." Well, Thursday morning comes, and I had every flu symptom in the world. So I called my doctor. He goes, "What do you want me to do?" "Call 911. You're having a heart attack right now." So I call 911. My former players are driving the ambulance, but they can't find my house. So they send 2 ambulances out. My son was at Wilbraham Munson, and one of his friends calls him and says, "Kev, I think there was a double murder at your house. There's 2 ambulances there." So eventually I get in the ambulance. I walk into the ambulance. They give me the nitroglycerin, and I'm going down the street. I'm going down Graham Road in Broadbrook. I said, wait a minute. If I'm dying right now, I don't feel too bad. And I got to get 23 hits. So that goal setting kept me alive. Through all my Tri-County experience, though, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was the The year after I left, my son kept playing and he hit .330. And one hit of his was worth 1,000 of mine. So that was what I feel the best about with the Tri-County League. What I want to leave you with, though, is the major things that I learned along the way. And there's about 10 things here. And number one is anybody can get you out. You have to have a plan every time up. The plan's going to change pitch to pitch, but you got to have a plan. The other thing is you can't think and hit at the same time. And once you think about a body part when you're up there, it's like texting while driving. You're going to have an outcome that's not positive. My father always said this to me: stay positive, your greatest day is just around the corner. There was a great UMass pitcher named Tony Presnell, a little before you, Nick, and Tim, remember Tony? And we were going to face him that night because you'd watch the paper each day to try to figure out who you were facing. And I wasn't feeling too good. I mean, I had a couple of rough games, and I'm driving up to Zod Park, and I see a bumper sticker, "Expect a miracle." I go, that's what I've been doing wrong. I've been expecting to do crappy, and I've been doing crappy. So that changed my thinking with a lot of things. Take care, my college coach said this: take care of your body, you only get one. We had a guy on our street who was a major league pitcher. His name was Art Quirk from Dartmouth. He was former coach of the Celtics, Providence College AD, Big East. Dave Gavitt. It was Dave Gavitt's roommate. And we used to go down to this little gym, Parkman School in Enfield, for basketball age 13 to 15, and Art Quirk, this major league pitcher, would come and play with us. I go, "Mr. Quirk, are you here to get in shape?" He goes, "No. The key to getting in shape is staying in shape. Practice makes progress, it doesn't make perfect. A kid can do it his wrong way better than your right way. The great trap of coaching hitters is making them too aware of what they do." So for example, I have guys that will come to me and go, "Hey, my load is off, or this is off, or this is off." And I would say, the only reason why you know that's off is we're not focusing on the ball enough, and that goes back to my wife. There's a magic in watching the ball. In every game, something bad will happen. It's what your team does after that matters. And lastly, as a coach, I think you want to say this all the time. Continually ask yourself, could I play for me, and would I want to play for me? So in closing, I'd like to quote two other Yankees. Yogi Berra, he said, "Thank you for making this night necessary." And of course, Lou Gehrig, and here's how I feel. I want to paraphrase Lou. Today, with this award, with my family, friends, players, former players, teammates, coaches, people I haven't met yet. In fact, I think next year there should be a rule. All former players have to wear their hats so you can recognize them. We've never seen each other without our hats on. But thank you so much for coming for me. And like with Lou Gehrig, today, as in every single day, I do consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Chris. Certainly a Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Famer, without a doubt. He was snapping his fingers at me. I'm trying to remember his 10 rules, and I'm wondering, why is he snapping at me? Trying to get Dave Gavitt out there. So, scare me. But those 10 rules are great. I wish I knew them about 30 years ago. As we have heard, and as Chris had mentioned, how great it is to be part of a team. Baseball is a singular sport. You're alone on the mound. You're alone in the batter's box. But when your team comes together and you can win a championship, it's something that you'll never forget. This year's team induction into the Hall of Fame is the 1978 Holyoke High School state champions. Led by head coach Jinx O'Connor and assistant coach Joe McCarthy, the 1978 Holyoke Purple Knights would beat Cathedral, Minnechaug, and Agawam, en route to the Western Massachusetts Championship. From there, Holyoke would defeat Lynn English in the state semifinal, as well as heavily favored Shrewsbury High to capture the state championship. Please join me in welcoming the 1978 Holyoke State Champs to the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. Guys.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Gorneault, and I'm a proud teammate and a captain of the 1978 high school Purple Knights baseball team. I'm joined with my former teammates. I have Dave Saborn here, our pitcher, who won both the Western Mass and the state final. We got Eddie Stankiewicz, who was a center fielder, chased every ball down. Donnie Mann, our catcher. Bulldog behind the plate, Bobby O'Neill, one of the best defensive first basemen I've ever played with, and Doug Coakley, outfielder, hitter extraordinaire. So I just want to kind of go back, and it's been 45 years since we won it, and to kind of put everything together in a 5-6 minute speech, which we've done, to tell you about our season. And first and foremost, my teammates and coaches, I want to extend our heartfelt congratulations to all the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame inductees being honored this evening. Honors are well deserved for a job well done. We would like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee and the Valley Blue Sox ownership for their dedication and commitment each and every year in making the event and evening so very special and meaningful for both the inductees and guests in attendance. As Rich and others, Chris Corkum had just mentioned, baseball is a team game, and the 1978 Purple Knights baseball team exemplified what team was all about. The entire roster was comprised of players who grew up in Holyoke, which is known as Paper City, and learned the game at an early age by participating in the Holyoke Youth Baseball League, which is quite comparable to the John L. Sullivan League and many other little leagues throughout Western Mass. And we learned the game at an early age by participating in the Holyoke Youth Baseball League. Throughout our formative years, participating in the Holyoke Youth Baseball League really set the foundation for all of us as players to develop the skill sets, play competitive baseball, develop confidence in ourselves, and learn to play within a team concept. We as players want to thank all those individuals who dedicated their lives to provide opportunities to kids like us. And let us not forget, to learn the game we came to love. For those league administrators, coaches, umpires, and volunteers, and let us not forget about the role our parents played in supporting our love and commitment to the game and helped us through our journey that culminated in Division I Massachusetts State Championship on June 17, 1978 at Fenton Field on the campus of Holy Cross. At this time, I'd like to take a moment just to provide the names of the players, coaches, and managers that contributed to the success of the 1978 Holyoke High School Purple Knights baseball team. I'm going to do it in alphabetical order, but our head coach was John Jinx O'Connor, and he's no longer with us, but his son Dennis has joined us this evening. So thank you, Dennis, for attending the Hall of Fame dinner and awards ceremony. Assistant coach Joe McCarthy, he wishes he would be here, but unfortunately he's in Aruba, so good for Joe. But as I mentioned, I'm going to do it in alphabetical order. Doug Coakley is here, which I mentioned before. Matt Connors was our shortstop. Billy Jacques was our right fielder. Jimmy Ellis was a pitcher. Jack Gilligan. Myself, Mark Gorneault, Jeff LeMaglin, who was a backup catcher. Don Mann, who's standing up here, he was our catcher. Steve McCarthy was a pitcher. Bob O'Neill, again, standing up here, first base. Jeff Quirk, our outfielder. We had a nickname for him. We called him Nazrat, and that's Tarzan backward. He was a defensive lineman or left fielder, and I'll talk a little bit about Jeff and his exploits in the state final in just a few moments. Dave Saborn, who's standing here next to me, again, he won both the Western Mass final as well as the state final. As a pitcher, Jack Sheehan, Mark Soskovic, who's in California. Ed Stankiewicz, who's here. Again, our starting outfielder, John Valencia, again, a senior starting pitcher, and our two managers, James LaFontaine and John Trombley. The team roster was comprised of 8 seniors, 6 juniors, and 2 sophomores, all of whom played key roles throughout the season, including tournament play. Going back, we weren't the most talented team in Western Mass in the state of Massachusetts in 1978. As in any single elimination tournament, that is win in advance or lose or go home. You only have to be the best team that day. We had a great group of players that loved to play the game of baseball. We enjoyed playing and competing. We had a belief in one another, a competitive spirit, and would not allow us to walk off the field without a win. Just starting the season, we started off 0-2, but we got hot during the middle of the season. We won 11-12, but then at the end of the year, we lost our last 2 games. If we had won one of the 2, and definitely both, we would have won the Valley League. But unfortunately, we came in kind of hobbling into the Western Mass tournament, but we still had an opportunity to win. And our first game was against Cathedral, and obviously Nick and Anthony, former players there, but we beat them 9-7. We then went and played Minnechaug in the semifinal, beat them 5-0. But I want to talk about now just the Western Mass final and then the state semifinal and the final. Then on to the Western Mass final to play Agawam High. The game took place on June 12, 1978 at Zob Park in Chicopee, Mass under the lights. And I think many of you are familiar with Zob Park, beautiful ballpark, great venue to play in. And at the time there were more than 3,500 people in attendance. Some say one of the largest crowds ever at a Western Massachusetts baseball final. Now Agawam had Mike Riley, who was a 6'7" pitcher and who happened to be the 4th round draft pick of the Twins that year. And very few people gave us a chance to beat Riley in Agawam High School. But what people attending the game didn't know, we had 2 coaches, 16 players, and 2 managers who believed in each other and their abilities. And we had a dominant pitcher going for us that night, Dave Saborn, who dominated Agawam High. And the final score at the end of the game, Hoyoke High 5, Agawam 2. Next on to the state semifinal, which was played in Rockland, Mass. And that was about 2.5 hours from Hoyoke. Our opponent was Lynn English. And again, no one really gave Hoyoke High or our team a chance due to the fact that their starting pitcher was a gentleman named Fed Fabrizio. He was 9-0 for his high school career. They also had a pitcher, Dick Newton. His high school career record was 23-1, and he had lost his only game that year to the other semifinalist that was playing Shrewsbury. And before they knew it, after 3 innings, Hoyoke High had a 9-0 lead. They brought in Newton in the 5th inning, and we scored a few additional runs off him. At the end of the day, Hoyoke won 11-8, but it wasn't even that close. So our reward was to go to the state final, which was held at Fitton Field in campus Holy Cross College on June 17, 1978. A crowd of more than 1,500 was on hand to watch the game. It was a little train that could. Hoyoke High against a heavy favorite, Shrewsbury High, who happened to have the Yankees' #1 draft pick that year, and his name was Brian Ryder. It was a back-and-forth game with the score tied 3-3 entering the top of the 8th inning with Shrewsbury coming to the plate. During that inning, Shrewsbury scored 3 runs and went ahead 6-3 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. As we came off the field, we had a team huddle and talked about who we were as a team, how we got to the game by battling each and every pitch, and let's go out and compete and win the game. And basically that inning started, just to give you a caption, Don Mann, who was up here, he led off with a single to left field. Ed Stankwitz, who's standing here, and myself walk. Shrewsbury brings in a relief pitcher named Scott Maynard to face Dave Saborn, who was up here and was also the starting pitcher that day. And he got a base hit on a 2-2 fastball up the middle, and scoring both Mann and Stankwitz. But a throwing error resulted in myself and Dave moving up to 2nd and 3rd. So the score right now is 6-5, 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th, and we have Jeff Quirk. Again, I mentioned earlier, his nickname was Nazareth, which was Tarzan backward. And on a 3-2 fastball, he hit one about 380 feet at Fitton Field, where one hopped off the left field fence, and both Dave Saborn and myself scored. And we went ahead 7-6. Well, lo and behold, we go to the top of the ninth. They have a runner on first, 2 outs. Dave throws a fastball. Their batter hits a fly ball to right fielder, who was Billy Jacques that day. He catches it, and game over. Hoyoke wins the 1978 state championship, 7-6, and it was an incredible memory for all of us, for sure, and certainly for the city of Hoyoke and Hoyoke High School. And the last thing I want to do, I just want to share something that was written by Billy Zajac, who was a longtime Hoyoker, and he wrote for the Transfer Telegram. He wrote for the Springfield Daily News or Union. I'm sure he's quite friendly with Gary Brown as well. But Billy wrote that it was titled "A Mystery Ingredient," written 2 days after winning the state title. In the article are some memorable thoughts and quotes that I would like to share related to our team and our successful run in the tournament. And this is closing. Call it breaks, call it luck, or call it magic. Whatever you call it, there's a mystery ingredient involved in winning a state high school baseball tournament. The Hoyoke High School baseball team had it in capital letters. Regardless of how the talent is distributed, the team that possesses the numerous intangibles to keep winning in a single elimination tournament. When the opposition was tough, the nights were tougher. When a challenge arose, they were always ready for it. They had the ability to come back, to turn desperation into security. They did what they had to do to win. They did not know about quitting or giving up or giving in. They were fighters, battlers, warriors of the diamond, and they were winners in capital letters. So on behalf of the 1978 Hoyoke High School Purple Knights baseball team, we are humbled, honored, and forever grateful for being inducted as a team in capital letters into the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to the state champs from 1978. Our next inductee is well known for his endless and heartfelt contributions to youth athletics in Springfield. Steve Athas is the current vice president of the John L. Sullivan Youth Baseball League. His community service predates his induction by over 50 years, serving as a longtime recreation leader for the Springfield Parks and Recreation Department. Athas has volunteered countless hours at Picknelly Field and the Greenleaf Community Center, where he has contributed to field improvements and opened the community center for pitchers and catchers during the winter. In recognition and gratitude of his illustrious record of community service, please join me in welcoming Steve Athas to the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame.
For the first time in my life, I'm lost for words. And a lot of people that know me in this room, from left all the way to right, know that's awful hard. So with that said, I'm going to let you know that I was in culture shock when the Blue Sox sent me a text and said, "You only have 5 to 8 minutes." And I was going to tell you all about my life, and that would have probably taken 2 hours. So I'm going to cut it down, and I got to be honest with you, the people that have already been up here is tough to beat. So I'm not an elegant speaker, but I love to talk. So I will try my best. And I wrote something with my daughter listening to it when I was done to say, "Okay, you're only 5 minutes, so you'll be okay, Dad." First thing I'd like to say is from people all the way from left to right in this room that know me, I want to say thank you so much, because knowing you all have made me a better person. Coach Corkum, my daughter looked at me in awe and said, the last thing that Coach Corkum did was steal your thunder, Dad, because that was the first thing I was going to say. But I'm going to say it anyways. Before I read my speech, I'm going to give you a couple of quotes from people that I've honored all my life. But also I want to let Coach Corkum know, and everyone else in this room, that he dated me. Because when he started talking about the Tri-County and Max Lesniak and Al Stenick and Willie West and Randy Smith, I knew them all roaming around Blunt Park as a kid, being a bat boy and going up and down the sidelines in those days when you could pass the helmet. Now I'm dating myself because people can't put change in that helmet any longer. So with that said, I'm going to give you my quotes. As Lou Gehrig said, today I consider myself the luckiest man of the face of this earth to be here in front of you distinguished people. Next, I'd like to quote something from Dickie V, and everybody knows Dick Vitale loves to talk, and they call me at times Dickie V. This is awesome, baby. I am a dreamer and a believer. And my last thing I'm going to quote, that I met in person in 1983 in the Hutchinson, Kansas arena when I brought my junior college team to the national championships, being 32-1 and having won 28 games in a row. I met Hugh Durham, Larry Brown, and from North Carolina State, who had recruited Vinny Del Negro that year and was recruiting another guard who was playing for Chowan Junior College, Nate McMillan. And I got to meet him in the stands, and I felt like $1 million because one day he said, Coach, what would you, one of the nights in the arena, he'd see, I sat next to him, he said, Coach, what would you do in that situation? And I didn't have an answer for him because I was in awe with him. But this is what Jimmy V says, and he's famous for. There are 3 things we should do every day. Laugh, spend time in thought, and have your emotions move you to tears. And I did that today all day long because I was going to be here with you. And the last thing I want to say too is, we should always be nice to someone because it doesn't cost a cent. Lastly, we should start where we are, use what we have, and do what you can. So with that, I'll start my 5-minute speech. And I think that was only 3, so I didn't go over. Am I okay back there? Can you all hear me? I love you too. By the way, I had someone, after I wrote it, I had someone type it, and at the top it says, Stevie's acceptance speech. 2023 Baseball Hall of Fame event. Some truly heartfelt thanks need to be given to those associated with tonight's wonderful Hall of Fame event. First, thank you to the person for thinking enough of me to nominate me. It has been my pleasure to work with everyone associated with the John L. Sullivan Baseball League all these years, and to be recognized today is the cherry on top. So I want to thank my John L. Sullivan family because I truly love you. Next, thank you to the Western Mass Baseball Hall of Fame Committee
for considering my nomination worthy of the accolades. I'd also like to recognize the Valley Blue Sox for sponsoring this amazing event and this amazing evening. And I want to remind the Blue Sox that we have something in common. In talking to Tyler on the phone, he did not know this, but I definitely wanted to let him know that I was very appreciative of the award, and I wanted him to know that I wanted the Blue Sox to really appreciate and do some winning baseball on that field, because that is Mackenzie Field, but the diamond they play on is named after my Uncle Jimmy, James Athas, from Holyoke, who founded baseball. That is his diamond there. And he was one of my mentors. I'm not going to name all the mentors I've had because I'd be here all night long. And I've been so blessed to have a lot of great people in my life. I would like to honor not only all of the previous award recipients, but tonight's recipients as well. Congratulations to you all. I am certain you are all as thankful as I am to be in this room together. And I really, really am thankful to be with you and honored, because I cherish being among such honored people. I stand before you today with equal amounts of appreciation and humility. For all of my adult life, I have dedicated my time and talents to this wonderful city and its residents. Because I grew up in the world of sports, I use that venue as a way to connect with youth in meaningful and impactful ways. I have been blessed throughout my life through education, the Springfield Boys Club, and sports, especially in my neighborhood park, Blount Park, where Central High School lies right now. I spent many hours in the back by the field house there. That was Ray Smead and Mr. Hetty's farmhouse, where we played softball out in the back and roamed the mound among the cows and the chickens they had back there. Where I was deeply influenced in many ways by people who either coached me or played ball with me. It is because of these connections I pay it forward. Not all education takes place in the classroom. If someone gives you sound advice, immeasurable time, lectures and talents, you can go one of two ways. You can absorb it all and forget them afterward, or you can absorb it all and pass it on to others. I chose the road less traveled, and that has made me all the difference. I have become, through sports and with people, a sponge, where I absorbed everything that you had to give me, and I have taken that and given it back to the kids. For anyone within earsight tonight, my hope is you will take a page out of my playbook and give of yourself. My biggest blessing in life is I have two beautiful daughters whom I have dedicated myself to with unconditional love and nurturing. Well, these amazing women have allowed me to do what I love to do, to give my time to those who needed it most. They unselfishly let me go because they got it. They understood where my heart was and gave up so much for me. For example, there were times we had made plans to take summer vacations, trips to the beach, and even a trip to Greece that my daughters wanted to give me for my 70th birthday. But those plans never materialized because I had made a commitment to others. These children of mine understood where I was coming from because they were raised by a father who was old school. By that I mean I taught them and all the youngsters I worked with that hard work, dedication, and with the capital letters, loyalty, are the cornerstones in life that make us stronger, better, and complete. Thank you, Jess and Jamie. There are no words. My daughters, please stand. Jess and Jamie, I love you dearly. Let me share something with you. When I am at home alone, I often reminisce about the families I have helped and the lives I've been fortunate enough to be part of. I get snapshot images of the faces over the years, and I find myself smiling. I take them out like treasures stored in my memory chest. The rewards are far greater for me than the ones who benefited from my advice. To become a champion on the baseball field, not because of my playing the sport, but because of the thousands of lives I have touched. That is a treasure that defies no description, because I have so many people in this building right now that have touched my life, and we became friends. And like up at Picknelly Field, we have a motto: friends equal family. And most of the kids and their families have become my family. I have tried to set... Oh, I'm sorry. Baseball has always been recognized as America's favorite pastime. Where else would you ever think a little white ball could evoke such powerful emotional responses? Through baseball, lasting friendships have been forged, countless memories of a lifetime have been made, and a roller coaster of emotions from tears to tears of joy have taken us on a journey that has been the ride of a lifetime. I have tried to set the bar very high for myself. I model my life choices after words from two poems that affected me at a very young age. The first poem is The Dash, and it tells the story of a woman who was born and then died years later. The importance of the poem is not in the two dates we all read about when someone passes, but rather the small dash that sits between the dates. It is the dash that lets us know what one did in life. It is the dash that motivates me to strive for as much humanity and compassion I can. And that dash, I say, the kids in my life have made my dash worthwhile. My own kids and the thousands and hundreds of thousands of kids they've shared me with. As you know, life has no redo button. Life is short. Time is fast. No replays, no rewinds. Create memories and friendships of a lifetime. As we say up at Picknelly Field again, friends equal family. The other poem is Footprints. My walk in life has always had footprints. Sometimes there were two sets, and that is when God walked with me. At other times, there were only one set. I've learned over the years to rely on the fact that God doesn't abandon us in time of need, but rather He carries us when the load is too heavy. May God continue to bless us all so we'll fill our dashes with meaningful lives and to carry others when they need uplifting. We also need to lean on the good Lord when we need to be carried. May God bless us all, and thank you for listening to me. And to my Picknelly family, they're going to get a big kick out of this, and everyone who knows me will. Oh, there's one more thing. Thank you for coming, and I love you all.
That was awesome. I would love to.
Jess.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Way to go, Steve. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Wasn't too long.
You did
I'm
great.
not as elegant as
You did great. Thank you, Steve. Congratulations. Our final inductee is a Springfield native who stayed local until his shot at the big leagues. a graduate of Central High School, Doug Clark, committed to UMass Amherst on a football scholarship. He was one heck of a football player. He never played Little League Baseball, believe it or not. But he went to UMass, and he was on a football scholarship, and he talked to head coach Mike Hodges about just wanting to do something different and try out for the baseball team. Like I said, he never played in high school. He never played Little League. But he walked on to the UMass baseball team with head coach Mike Stone, and with grit and determination, turned himself into a baseball player. He played 3 seasons at UMass, and then incredibly was selected by the San Francisco Giants in the 7th round of the 1998 Major League Draft. He turned into a heck of a baseball player, and he would receive his Major League call-up with the Giants through long times in the minor leagues, through all sorts of different places, but he finally got called up in 2005. He also ended up playing in Korea and in Mexico. He had a 17-year professional career in baseball. And following his playing career, Doug Clark would spend 7 seasons as a hitting coach in the Giants organization, and then in 2022, he served as a hitting coach and still is for the Portland Sea Dogs, the Red Sox AA affiliate. So he's almost all the way back home. It's an amazing baseball odyssey, and now he's a Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Clark.
Thank you, Rich. The ability to get the great baseball minds, bodies, and spirits in one room to celebrate a talented and diverse class is no easy task. I want to acknowledge the efforts of all the members of the Western Mass Baseball Hall of Fame Committee. I truly feel the same as Ron Chamelis when he chose the headline for the Sunday paper, hitting it out of the park. Tonight is definitely a home run. To the class of 2023 and all previous inductees of the Western Mass Hall of Fame, it truly is an honor to be recognized by the committee and inducted into an eternal group that have dedicated a lifetime towards excellence on and off the diamond. I'd like to thank Marty Dobrow for his 3-piece article in Mass Live. I've received so many texts regarding how well you painted my home, baseball life, and climb so elegantly. My cousins, who can't be with us tonight, the Howards and Doyles, were so psyched to see that he made the article as well. So one day, I gotta put this up, my mom's gonna get mad, I know she can't hear me.
I can hear you.
We got it. We good. That's why you make the big bucks. So one day, this past November, my cell phone rang, and it was Steve McKelvey. And I thought to myself, he's probably calling to connect and catch up, or see if we can meet up at a UMass basketball game, as we try to do every year. But this time, he caught me a little by surprise. He gave me the news I was elected to the Western Mass Hall of Fame. I felt a jolt of adrenaline that brought a smile to my face. And as soon as we hung up and the news began to sink in, I immediately started to reflect on my journey that got me to this point. From playing, oops. Now you can't hear me, Mom.
It's on the bottom.
Rich, help.
Yeah. Now you really put me on the spot. It's on the bottom here? Hello?
Battery died.
I don't know. Shout.
Batteries over here somewhere.
Still on.
That's good, we're good. See what you did, Cork? 8 minutes. So I started to reflect on my journey that got me to this point. From playing catch with my father in our backyard in Hungry Hill, to playing catch with Barry Bonds in San Francisco at AT&T Park. From waking up each morning as a kid so I could catch the top 10 plays on ESPN, to being featured on ESPN, making a diving catch for the final out of a no-hitter during a bean pop. From learning my first words of Spanish, from Miss Terry Van Sickle and Miss De Cavallo at Central, to being immersed in a language during my 13 years of professional baseball in Mexico. From my first Legion hit at Van Horn Park, to my first big league hit at Petco Park. From packing my suitcase for our UMass spring trip to play in Florida, to packing my suitcase to play for the Hanwha Eagles in South Korea. From hitting a home run while playing for Heinz Group that won the Tri-County Championship, to hitting the 18th inning homer that won Mexico a Caribbean Series championship. Man, as I look back on my journey, I can't help but think about all the sacrifices that were made. And more importantly, about the support I had along the way. To my agent, Jim and Lisa Master Alexis. To my cousin, RJ. To my best friend, Mark. And to my brothers, William, Andrew, Gavin, and Connor. And my sisters, Molly and Nora. Thank you all for always supporting me in this journey. And I also want to take some coaches that were influential to me. To my high school football coach, Coach McLaughlin, who instilled in me what it takes to be a champion. I'll never forget the undefeated season and winning the first Super Bowl in the history of Central High. To my Legion coach, Coach Nicholson, who figured out a way to get me some playing time. To my UMass baseball coach, Coach Stone, for taking a chance on a walk-on who never played high school baseball. And to my number one coaches, my parents. My mom, a teacher in the classroom, a teacher of life, an unconditional supporter who inspires confidence by always reminding us that if you focus, dedicate your efforts, your mind, and your heart into everything you do, you will always find some form of success. Mom, thank you. I love you. To my hero, my dad, a fearless worker who would motivate me every day through his examples and, of course, his scrapbook of past athletic accomplishments. He was and still is the voice that I hear in times of need and fortune. Douglas, he would say, often as I left for another season, if you're going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. That phrase continues to echo in my head to this day as a hitting coach with the Red Sox organization. I miss my dad every day, but I can picture him looking down from heaven tonight with a smile on his face, celebrating this accomplishment with me, as he always did, no matter the magnitude. Dad, thank you. I love you. I've been very fortunate to have had many incredible teammates throughout my career. But the most important teammate on and off the field has been Pilar, my wife. Without your unconditional love and support, I would not be standing here today. Pilar, mi amor, te amo. Our three beautiful children, who may be knocking down a wall out there. Mateo, Michael, and Nicholas. You are my sunshine. I am so proud to be your dad. You bring me more joy and happiness than I ever thought was possible. Seeing you grow every day motivates me to be a better father. Know that I will always be in your corner as you blaze your trails, follow your dreams, and reach your goals. And don't forget, always listen to your mother. And to all of you here tonight, and to the many others that have helped along the way, my achievements would not have been possible without you. This accomplishment is just as much yours as it is mine. Victories have been sweeter and defeats have been softened because I've shared them with you. It's because of you that this kid from Hungry Hill, with dreams of playing sports at the highest level, humbly stands in front of you tonight as an official member of the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. Let's go.
Well, I think we have accomplished what Jim Valvano told us to set out to do. We have laughed, we have thought, we have cried tonight. It is a well-deserved class of 2023 into the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame. Before we conclude, I'd like to bring up State Representative Brian Ash. He represents the 2nd Hampden District of Massachusetts, and we ask that all this evening's inductees and award recipients please join us up here for the presentation from Representative Ash. Come on up, Brian.
Thank you, Rich. Maybe I should have went first. Nobody wants to hear the last speaker. Rich, I didn't think of any fancy poem like you did. I was just thinking, Mighty Rich had the mic, handed it to me, then took a hike. It's as creative as I get. I have the pleasure, one, thank you all so much for being here tonight to honor those being inducted to the Western Mass Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you to Twin Hills for putting this on, for doing a great job. And thank you for the committee for not only picking this year's recipients, but for starting this 10 years ago and keeping this alive and well. Growing up in Western Mass, we are so blessed to have so many star athletes, but I gotta tell you, if I didn't know any of these inductees, if I didn't know anything about them, any of their athletic accolades, after listening to them speak, I was so moved by their character, of who they are as individuals. And I think that's what's most impressive about all these people. I have been blessed to know some of these, and I was just thinking how, like Kevin Bacon, everything kind of comes around in circles, how little things are related. The Holyoke High baseball team, although I didn't live in Holyoke, this color is not for Holyoke, it's for Cathedral Neck. I did live next to Snake Riley, who you beat. And I do march in the St. Patrick's Day Parade every year in Holyoke, but winning a state championship is absolutely incredible, so congratulations. To the Doyles, what an inspiration you are to keep the spirit of Ryan alive. I have the pleasure of knowing the Doyles. I graduated with Chris, I hung out a little bit with Sean, so God bless you for what you're doing and again, for keeping the spirit alive. I think it's incredible to have this award every year. Donna, wherever you are, Donna, I don't know if you know this, but we are both fighting owls in Westfield State. I did not play on the softball team, but I did start there before you and finished after you, and I didn't get a doctorate. And also, you are an inspiration. One of the greatest joys of my life is when my daughter was about 8 years old, and I got to coach her on an all-boys baseball team. and there's nothing sweeter than when she gets a hit. And the same comments would happen now that they didn't think a girl should be playing, but I so appreciate what you did to pave the path for so many girls in the future and for your incredible career, so thank you. Gary Brown, the immortal Gary Brown. If you lived in Western Mass and could read, you knew who Gary Brown was. And if you didn't read any of his articles, you had to read Hitting to All Fields, which was absolutely incredible. I look forward to seeing that every year. All right, Steve Athas. I don't know if you know this. Where's Steve? Oh, right behind. I used to work with your daughter. Didn't know that. And the biggest part of my life, growing up in baseball at the Sheriff's Department. I'm trying to figure out which daughter. Biggest part of my life with baseball is Little League, getting to know it, and I remember it as Quinn Field more than McNally Field, but just having that early getting introduced to baseball, what it means, it's such a big part of people's lives if you love the game. There's no sport better, team sport better, because there's so many different things you learn about yourself and about teammates, so thank you so much. Chris Corkum. Well, Chris, you look like a young, spry Chick Hearn. And that's a good thing. But also, one of the things, when I was a kid, before I even started playing baseball, my grandmother lived in Hungry Hill, and I would go up and I'd always look at the paper, and I always followed Oliver Auto Body and Chicopee Falls Tigers. I can't remember the other teams that were in it, but I appreciate so much what you do and your legacy in baseball. Donna LaValley, I never had the chance to get coached by you or to get umped by you, but I'm sure if I did, you'd have gently whispered in my ear, "You're out!" Now, Nick, I've had the pleasure of getting to know years ago and kept in touch over the years. What a moving and beautiful speech you made there, too. And you can tell, people ask about public speaking. I say you can never go wrong when you speak from the heart. And you can always tell when somebody's genuine. And that was an absolutely beautiful speech. I'm proud to know you, and I'm proud that you're here, too. And Doug Clark, what a show-off. Didn't play high school baseball, my God. Doug, I've also known for quite a while. I used to work with his brother Andrew, also at the Sheriff's Department. See, everything comes kind of full circle. But Doug, what an incredible career you've had, but even more so, like all the rest of the inductees, more so an incredible person. So to all of you up here, as citation, I'll just read one. Don't worry, I'm not going to read them all. But they're all individualized. However, this one I'll read Gary's. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to the family of Gary Brown in recognition of the first annual Gary Brown Memorial Award, remembering and honoring Gary's long and extremely memorable career as a sports writer for the Springfield Republican, as well as his fan favorite column, Hitting to All Fields. The entire membership extends very best wishes, and signed by the Speaker of the House and by me, Brian Ash, State Representative. To all the inductees, congratulations for not only being inducted to the Western Mass Baseball Hall of Fame, but for the people you've become and the inspiration, and to really make Western Mass proud. God bless you. Thanks.
Nice to see you.
Good job. Okay, I think they're going to get a picture taken here, but that concludes tonight's ceremony. So on behalf of the Valley Blue Sox and the Western Massachusetts Baseball Hall of Fame Committee, thanks so much for coming tonight. We'll see you at Mackenzie Stadium on Thursday, June 8th for the Blue Sox home opener, and next year for the 2024 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Take care, drive home safely, and in just a little bit, it'll be time to play ball.
You feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those. She saw the stone, you know how that go. Fatality, my diamonds that cold. Versace trunks, I hit my backstroke. Knock on the door, she at the back, bro. All I really take is a little taste. Island girl, blue eyes with a little bass. Here for the thrill, I don't need a chaser. Wanna vibe at the getaway. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, I got the semi-4 way. Don't step out the line like this a probate. You hit the line and try to locate. This for the time, got time for no day.